Iraqi President Saddam Hussein has been executed by hanging at an unspecified location outside Baghdad's Green Zone for crimes against humanity. Iraqi TV, which has released this footage, said the execution took place just before 6 o'clock local time. A representative of the Prime Minister and a Sunni Muslim cleric were among those present. 4 security guards led Saddam to the gallows. Moments before his hanging, Saddam was reported to be quite calm. We'll stay with these pictures for a few moments. The footage doesn't actually show the execution of Saddam Hussein. It just shows the moments preceding the actual execution, when the noose is placed around his neck. That's when the footage cuts out. We aren't sure at this stage if any more footage will be released. The audio is missing from this footage. What Saddam actually says is unclear. Was he on sedatives or not is unclear. But a calm, perhaps seemingly defiant Saddam Hussein being led to his execution. He would die moments after this footage was actually taken. The actual execution, as I mentioned, is not visible. Well, moments before his hanging, Saddam was calm. When one of the guards told him that he had ruined Iraq, Saddam is reported to have said, "It was I who built Iraq." The two co-defendants, Saddam Hussein's half-brother and a former chief judge, are to be executed at a later date. The three were sentenced to death by an Iraqi court on the 5th of November after a year-long trial over the 1982 killings of 148 Shias in the town of Dujail. Saddam's execution comes just ahead of the beginning of the religious Baqar festival. All American embassies are on high alert for any possible terror strikes. 2 car bombings, one in Baghdad and one in Kufa, have killed at least 45 people after the execution of Saddam Hussein. The Shia community in Iraq has generally welcomed Saddam's death and hailed the execution as justice for the suffering endured under his leadership. As word got out, gunfire broke out in Baghdad streets. It was unclear whether the shooting was celebratory in nature. The execution was videotaped and photographed extensively. Ajay Shukla joins us now for an analysis of really what's happened today in Iraq. Ajay, historic footage is what we've all been seeing now for the last couple of hours. But I think the most appropriate statement actually came from the US President when he said that the violence in Iraq was not going to end.
Well, yes, and the question that really every Iraqi must be asking, living in those completely lawless security situations, is what's going to happen now? In the short run, there are many Saddam loyalists out there, people of the Baath Party, people from the Saddam Fedayeen, who have access to guns and to bombs, who will almost certainly in the short run be registering their anger. It will be almost a matter of honor for those people to register their disapproval at what has been done to their leader. But it's a larger question about what would happen in the longer run. The basic rationale that underpins the execution of Saddam Hussein is that Saddam's death will mean the final closure to any possibility of his return. And therefore, for all the people who are backing a possible Baath Party return, it's the end of the chapter for them. That is the basic reason why the United States has pushed for this execution, and the Iraqi regime has said, yes, let's do it, because they hope that their own legitimacy will be enhanced with the passing of Saddam. But whether the average Iraqi citizen supports that rationale, that's something which we'll have to see in the days ahead. Vishnu?
No surprise really in India over the protests which have been held to Saddam's execution. It's hindsight is always 20/20, but just a few years back, India was very seriously contemplating sending soldiers to Iraq, a decision which would almost inevitably have been disastrous.
Well, there's very little support within India for the United States as opposed to Saddam. It would be recalled that in the run-up to the invasion of Iraq, many people on the streets in India were expressing support for Saddam in preference to support for the United States. So on the streets of India, certainly there is very little appetite for what the United States is doing there, or indeed any appetite for sending troops to Iraq. Now that was a decision which the government made with some foresight, and NDTV had sent a team over there to actually poll the people on the ground, and the rationale that was expressed by those people, the views expressed by them, by the Iraqis on the ground, was that they did not want foreign troops. At the most they wanted a short-term UN-backed force on the ground. So that situation has not changed. India was wise not to send troops over there, but on the ground over there a coalition still exists. The United States troops are still over there. The visible symbols of oppression and of occupation are still in front of the Iraqi people, and that has not changed with the passing on of Saddam. Vishnu?
Ajay, thanks very much for joining us. The US President George Bush today said the execution of the former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was an important milestone in the country's path to democracy. He also said, and I quote, "Bringing Saddam Hussein to justice will not end the violence in Iraq, but it is an important milestone on Iraq's course to becoming a democracy that can govern, sustain and defend itself." The British Foreign Secretary Margaret Beckett welcomed the fact that Saddam Hussein had been tried by an Iraqi court for at least some of the appalling crimes that he committed, and said that he has now been held to account. France called on Iraqis to, quote, "look towards the future and work towards reconciliation and national unity."
Praise the Lord, Saddam Hussein is dead and justice has been served.
Well, I'm kind of shocked. It's not that I like Saddam, but I think killing people is not the right thing to do. Under the circumstances, it's their law, and they exacted justice the way it should be. Internally, I feel sad.
Well, I think the reaction will be that the Sunnis are probably going to, erupt in the streets and cause more problems for the whole country. I mean, they're just going to be more divided now, probably.